Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. By now, I'm sure you've heard about it. The police's story is that at some point on the morning of May 1st, they became aware of a stolen vehicle at an apartment complex. The police say that there were 4 individuals in the car who all fled when police arrived. One of them was 18-year-old Ryan Hinton. The cop who shot Ryan Hinton dead claimed that Ryan was pointing a gun at him, but when you look at the video, that's not clear at all. The police, of course, have also tried to claim that they attempted to administer first aid to Mr. Hinton, but if you believe that, you gotta be some kind of stupid. As we've seen with plenty of cases of police victims, from Eric Garner to Botham Jean to you name it, they don't do anything to save the life of a black person once they've shot them or strangled them or beaten them or tased them to death. They just say that and the white media repeats it. The very next morning, around 9:30 a.m., Ryan Hinton's family, including his father, Rodney Hinton Jr., went to the police chief's office to view the body camera footage of the killing. An attorney representing the family described it as disturbing. Mr. Hinton Jr. was so distraught by what he'd seen that around 10:30 a.m. he walked out before the video had even finished. He briefly came back to the police station sometime later, but just after 1 p.m., reports came over police radio about an officer down, in this case a Hamilton County Sheriff's deputy. Now, we don't know what exactly happened, but at some point Mr. Rodney Hinton Jr. was arrested, and he's now being charged with aggravated murder in this incident. Of course, he's being held without bond. The judge in this case, a very light-skinned black man, wasn't trying to control the police either. He simply allowed them to stand around in the courtroom and turn what should have been a routine arraignment into chaos. He allowed the police to flood the courtroom to the point that nobody else could get in. Mr. Hinton Jr. had to be removed, ostensibly for his own safety. They aren't acting like law enforcement professionals. They're acting like a taxpayer-funded street gang, and the judge allowed them to. The white media, of course, dismissed all of this, saying that, well, they were there to show their support. They could have done that by being out on duty. It's a courtroom, not a fraternal order of police clubhouse. This is showing from the jump that the fix is in, and that these crooked authorities want to make it clear exactly whose side they're on. There will be no objectivity here, but then again, there never is. Mr. Hinton Jr.'s attorney said the obvious, that he is a devoted family man, a law-abiding citizen with no felony record, in fact, nothing to indicate hostility or antipathy towards the police or anyone else for that matter, and that even if he is found to have been the perpetrator of this incident, it's obvious that he was not in his right mind. This is a clear case of mental illness, if anything. It's certainly not murder. Even the prosecutors know this, which is why they didn't charge him with first-degree murder or first-degree anything, because there was clearly no premeditation, no forethought. This is a grieving and distraught father who only hours earlier had just learned that his son had been killed, and now he was invited to the police chief's office so he could watch what amounts to a snuff film. Any parent who had just watched video of their child being gunned down in a hail of bullets would have been in the same state of mental stress that Mr. Hinton Jr. was. Prosecutors, having suddenly discovered a willingness to charge people, said that they believed Mr. Hinton Jr. in a way that was calculated and premeditated, lined up his car, deliberately accelerated his vehicle, and purposely caused the death. Now, isn't that exactly what the person who killed Mr. Hinton Jr.'s son did? Ryan Hinton did nothing other than run. And the person who killed him, in a way that was calculated and premeditated, lined up his gun, deliberately fired his gun, and purposely caused Ryan Hinton's death. He certainly didn't think that shooting this guy multiple times was going to result in him living. The killer was not fired upon, by the way, and the police chief bragged that we don't require them to wait to be fired upon just to gun someone down. The video doesn't support the police's claim that Ryan Hinton was aiming a gun at anyone. And the person who took his life has still not even been identified. Now, I'm sure we'll have some unthinking numbskulls who will try to say, well, Ryan Hinton had stolen a car, if nothing else. First of all, that has yet to be established, but for the sake of argument, let's concede that assertion. Do the police routinely kill people suspected of stealing a car? And don't give me any crap about the police were scared because they saw a gun. The police themselves have already admitted that as far as pointing a weapon at anyone, they don't actually have any evidence of that. And merely seeing a gun never justifies opening fire. The police routinely encounter individuals with guns on a regular basis. I've detailed that for you on this channel with my crime reports. And they don't open fire unless that person actually points the gun at them. Well, depending on their skin color, that is. But with black citizens, they don't need to see a gun at all to shoot a black person dead. Since at least 2015, we've had an endless list of black citizens who didn't have a gun, but were gunned down by the police anyway with their hands up. If the person who killed Ryan Hinton was so scared, why didn't he take cover? Police caught at least 2 of the other individuals alleged to have been in the car. They could have easily been able to get the identities of anyone who got away. If the cop who killed Ryan Hinton was so scared, shouldn't that have been his reaction, take cover? Kyle Rittenhouse gunned down 2 people. Police watched him do it, and they just decided to drive by him and gave him a thumbs up. So apparently they're scared of guns when they choose to be. The white media endlessly lectures us that police do a dangerous job, but the Bureau of Labor Statistics tells a different story, that policing is one of the safest jobs in America compared to all the others, which is why the mayor and everyone else has time to show up whenever some cop is killed, because it happens so rarely. The primary cause of police deaths are suicide. None of the politicians ever show up for those funerals. But if we are to believe the talking point that policing is just so outrageously dangerous, and that cops have to make life and death decisions getting out of bed every morning, then why is it that we see such unique and irregular displays of emotion whenever police actually do get killed? The military doesn't have angry families storming the courtroom and angry veterans groups acting out when soldiers come back dead by the thousands. Only a handful of police die every year by comparison. So why do these politicians and the white media portray it as if it's by the boatload? Why do they exaggerate so much? I've detailed for you in my numerous crime reports how police are killed by white suspects, and that doesn't prompt the white media's typical narratives about police do a dangerous job. And what about Blue Lives Matter? And police want to quit because the public's turned against them. When was the last time you've seen a judge allow the police to pack the courtroom when a white suspect killed a cop? This is about justifying any and every use of force against black people, because we never hear these talking points at any other time. So I give my sincerest condolences to the Hinton family. They've lost a son, and the father is now fighting for his freedom. We often hear apologists for police killings of black citizens say that all lives matter, a phony talking point that we only hear when a black citizen has been killed by the police, or on the rare occasion that a black citizen's been accused of killing a cop, but only if it's a white one. Well, if we're going to be hearing the everyone needs to do thus and so talking point, then we should be hearing it now. What's happened here is a tragic confluence of events. The police didn't mean to kill Ryan Hinton, right? And Mr. Hinton Jr., a law-abiding family man with no felony record, didn't mean to harm anyone either. This is a sad case of diminished capacity, nothing more. And that being the case, it's a tragedy for all involved. In fact, even the prosecutors and the authorities have said that this is an all-around tragedy for everyone. And that being the case, since the killer of Ryan Hinton hasn't been charged or arrested and hasn't even been named, why is it that Mr. Hinton Jr. is not receiving the same treatment? The death of Ryan Hinton is the same as the death of that sheriff's deputy. A tragedy, but not a crime. The family of Ryan Hinton is expected to understand that these things happen, and that no matter how they feel, nothing will be done because, as white prosecutors are so fond of saying to black victims, well, sending so-and-so to prison, that's not going to bring the victim back. How many times have we heard that one whenever prosecutors have made some sweetheart plea deal to allow some race killer to walk, or just to make sure that they get the minimum sentence? The talking point that we hear from the usual suspects is that Ryan Hinton's killer didn't get up that morning intending to kill him, and Rodney Hinton Jr. didn't get up that morning intending to kill that sheriff's deputy either. It happened spontaneously after he was traumatized watching his son being killed. And if the killer of Ryan Hinton shouldn't be prosecuted even though he committed his killing with no mental impairment or defect, then how much more deserving of consideration is Mr. Hinton Jr., who was clearly, if he did this at all, acting under extraordinary mental duress? I'm sure those same prosecutors and police and white media pundits will agree that everyone needs to simply accept what's happened here and just move on with their lives. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: Ginger Vine, Ching Tayari, Paula Williams, Sa, and Cheryl Tate. Salute to them, and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.